this agenda item, and I call on for the Honourable Attorney General and the Minister for Economy, Civil Service and Communications, the Honourable Ayaz Syed Qayyum, to deliver his statement. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to update Parliament on the important work that Wireless is doing with regard to ensuring that wireless services are accessible to all Fijians. Mr. Speaker, sir, we have a steadfast commitment that every Fijian, no matter where they live, are to have meaningful access to wireless services, whether it's crystal clear picture and increased content choices on free-to-air digital television. We've made extraordinary progress with increasing wireless coverage nationwide through terrestrial and satellite network. This is together with the mobile phone connectivity, both voice and data. And I'd like to take this opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to just correct some of the misinformation that Honourable Gerengere Tambua had referred to. I refer to page 43 of the 2020 GSMA State of Mobile Internet Connectivity Report, which states, and I quote, Fiji has achieved 3G and 4G coverage of more than 95%. Therefore, it is not merely a claim, as the Honourable Member said or made. Ms. Fiji has in fact reached 95% mobile internet connectivity coverage, Mr. Speaker, sir. And again, if the Honourable Member had listened to my statement, she would have grasped this. Because as we all know, Mr. Speaker, sir, that these devices, once they have connectivity, they also have access to data. You get Viber, you get internet, etc. And I think the Honourable Member is confused and does not understand the two distinguishing terms. One is coverage and usage when looking at Digital 2020 by Hootsuite, which she quoted. Hootsuite is a social media management firm, Mr. Speaker, sir, which looks at social media engagement. On the other hand, the GSMA represents the interests of mobile operators worldwide, uniting more than 750 operators with nearly 400 companies in the broader mobile ecosystem, including handset and device makers, software companies, equipment providers, and internet companies. So it gets global data from its members and assesses connectivity coverage and usage across all countries. The difference between the two reports, Mr. Speaker, is that Hootsuite did not state the 95% mobile internet connectivity coverage. It only stated the internet usage. And Honourable Gerengere Tambua very conveniently used that. The fact is most people, a lot of people in Fiji who may have access to a mobile phone don't necessarily use it for Facebook or don't necessarily use it for internet. They only use it for voice. So therefore they won't get quoted or caught in the report that she was quoting. Mr. Speaker, sir, the other point that I also wanted to make, just to fact check her, she said that VT card, people don't need necessarily VT card, but they need internet connectivity. To use VT card, you actually need internet connectivity. So she does not know what she's talking about, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, she also said that we don't allow for competition. There's only 2 mobile phone companies. We had stated in the statement on Monday, the Honourable Prime Minister had said, let's deregulate the mobile telephony company market in Fiji. We deregulated it. Companies had 20-year exclusive licenses. That's how Digicel came in. She thinks that for a country of less than 900,000 people, all the mobile phone companies in the world want to come to Fiji. They don't. They look at the population numbers. They look at how much investment they have to make. To put up a tower, I said it costs $500,000 just one tower. So again, it shows a huge lack of understanding and commercial understanding of how the internet space works, how mobile phone companies work, and indeed the commercial understanding that's required to be able to even comment on it in a very rudimentary manner. She said, oh, where are the bus stand? There's no Wi-Fi at Suva bus stand. I will read out a list. We never said Wi-Fi will be at Suva bus stand. He said Sukuna Park and My Suva Park, and I'll read out a list of where all it is. She then assumed, said, oh, this 158 number must have gone to Vodafone. Again, a major goof up. See, this is the problem when people come to this parliament with derisive attitude, pugnacious attitude, they get the facts wrong. 158 is not with Vodafone. It's with a company called Pacific Centrecom, or Centrecom Fiji PT Limited was engaged for this. So again, she's wrong, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, she went on to say, oh, the e-ticketing, we understand, the question is it $3? Well, it's not. If she checked, this is kind of speculation. Pensioners get $10 a month. If they use $7, they always have $10 at the beginning of the month. If they use $7 in the month, the following month it will be topped up by another $7 to make sure they have $10 in the beginning of the month. Mr. Speaker, sir, again, she referred to the World Bank $3.5 million. Again, she failed to tell Parliament, or probably does not understand, that actually it was a loan. It's a World Bank loan for connecting of Vanua Levu to Viti Levu as part of what they call the Tui Samoa connection. And because we utilize the funds in a very properly managed, transparent manner, there were some leftover funds that the World Bank then said you could use for a Northern Connectivity Project, which is precisely what we are doing. Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to very quickly talk about digital television. In December 2017, the digital television platform through Wailesi was launched with 10 transmission sites across Fiji. To date, Wailesi, through budgetary allocation of a number of budgets, has invested a capex of about $45 million in over 21 sites. Furthermore, in adopting the infrastructure sharing or co-location model, Wailesi now operates 21 transmission sites, including 3 terrestrial sites on Kandavu, Ovalau, Taviuni, 15 sites on Viti Levu, and 3 in Vanua Levu. I very quickly want to highlight, Mr. Speaker, and honourable members need to understand this. We have ITC Container, which is used as a linking site in Wailesi. It's owned by Wailesi, co-located with Digicel. Nakomba Levu, which covers Suva Central, Nasinu, Nosori, Tailevu, Navua, Korovo. FBC is transferring their site to Wailesi exclusively. Monosavu Dam and nearby areas. Fintel, co-locating with Wailesi. Koro'o, Tavua, Vatukola. Wailesi has got their own site. Lololo, parts of Lotoka and Ba. FBC is transferring the site to Wailesi. Sambeto, which covers Nandi, Lotoka. Kavukavu in Nambo, Lomawai area. Digicel co-locating with Wailesi. Bunusuna Tange, Singatoga town and suburbs, Wailesi site. Budhona Bay, Singatoga coastal area, Vodafone with Wailesi. Dongowale, parts of Navua, Matanipusi Hill, Serua, Digicel with Wailesi. Town of O, Pacific Harbour, Vodafone with Wailesi. Nayala, Wainimbuka area, Digicel with Wailesi. Matawai Levu, Ngoroto, Maduveni, Wailesi with Vodafone. Rakiraki town nearby areas, FBC with Wailesi. Tunreki, Tavu and Rekireki, Digicel with Wailesi. Dalaikoro, Senganga, Lambasa and coastal areas further north, FBC transferring to Wailesi. Ulivua, Nambowalu and surrounding areas, TFL with Wailesi. Navaria, Savusavu town and nearby areas, Digicel with Wailesi. Davao Peak, Tavuki, Loveni Vonu, Somosomo, Lamina, and parts of Welenga, TFL with Wailesi. Korosalusalu, Kandavu, Vunise and surrounding areas, Vodafone with Wailesi. And Levuka Ovalau, Wailesi has got its own site. Mr. Speaker, digital television offers a myriad of benefits for both the broadcasters and all Fijians. These benefits include the following. A common platform for all broadcasters. B, spectrum efficiency gains and increased transmission capacity that more data can be transmitted per unit bandwidth. C, improved signal quality and robustness. D, low energy consumption and maintenance costs. We have to be mindful of energy costs. E, flexibility and more efficient use of infrastructure allows implementation of single frequency networks, or SFNS, instead of independent parallel analog networks. SMNS is a broadcast network where several transmitters simultaneously send the same signal over the same frequency channel. What are the consumer benefits, Mr. Speaker, sir? Wider choice of programming and services, including additional channels, HD offerings and pay programs, better quality in that it is less likely to experience signal interference and picture quality issues. C, convenience in that video on demand catch-up service allows viewers to watch programs at a time of their choosing. And D, parental lock setting, where parents can actually lock programs. It gives parents and guardians a greater control of what their children watch on television via classification programs or full channels. If you're not home, you know they're not going to watch anything that they should not be watching. With the advancement of digital broadcast technology, Wailesi's broadcast signals are far more reaching than the traditional analog signals. For that reason, Mr. Speaker, sir, a number of maritime islands are now able to receive digital television signals from Wailesi's 21 transmission sites. These include Benga, 85% is covered. Vatulele, 100%. Yasawa Group, 80%. Kandavu, 15%. I'll come to Kandavu later. Overlau, 80%. Lomai Viti Group, 60%. Rambi, 85%. Kiowa, 50%. Kia, 50%. Mali, 50%. Yangana, 30%. Wailesi has also made good progress in deploying what we call additional fill-in transmission sites. Muaani in Kandavu, 50% completed. Nayala, which is digital site. Budona Bay, Rotuma, Lakemba, Levuka, Tonovo. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'd like to point out that while Kandavu already has an infill site at Bunisea, Wailesi is actually deploying another site at Muaani, which will ensure 100% digital terrestrial coverage to Kandavu. Works are temporarily halted due to COVID-19 travel restrictions. However, works will resume as soon as travel restrictions are relaxed. Similarly, works at Mount Kugai site in Rotuma and on Lakemba in the Lau Group will also resume as soon as the travel restrictions are relaxed. Mr. Speaker, sir, where the 21 terrestrial transmission networks were not suitable, particularly in the deep interiors of Viti Levu and Vanuatu and in the remote maritime islands, we have used satellite technology. The Wailesi satellite-based direct-to-home service provides 100% coverage. This means that the Wailesi digital television platform is available to every island in Fiji. Wailesi now has 3,738 satellite-based direct-to-home connections in the maritime islands, including far-flung islands such as Rotuma with 57 connections, Lau Group with 143 connections, and Lomai Viti with 1,487 connections, to name a few. Mr. Speaker, sir, with the current work that has been undertaken in expanding coverage to the maritime islands, a student, for example, attending school at the Mavana District School in Lau can access the same high quality and dedicated educational content on the Wailesi platform as a student in Tailevu at QVS. Mr. Speaker, sir, Wailesi has also carried out nationwide roadshows. For example, Wailesi carried out 2 roadshows in Rotuma, one from 17 October 2020 for 2 weeks, connecting 18 households, and another one from 24 November 2020 for 3 weeks, connecting 20 households with direct-to-home satellite connections. The team also connected 5 community halls in Rotuma, and these are Losa Village, Itai Utu Village, Hapmak Village Hall. These are all in the village halls. Nortau Village Hall, Lopta Village Hall. And the other roadshows, Mr. Speaker, sir, were in Natalei Ira Village in Tailevu, Naivoroti in Naitasiri, Dhuvu, Nandi Roadshow, Nassau Vakarua in Monasavu, Urata Roadshow, which included the area around Montfort Boys Town, Daku in Lambasa, I'm not going to read out all of them, Tavuni Roadshow, Nandawa Roadshow, Nandera, Visese, Ovalau Roadshow. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'd like to point out at the time of the recent COVID-19 outbreak, Wailesi, through his digital television platform, rapidly deployed supplementary educational content from 20 April 2021. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'd like to also now highlight or outline the type of the digital television coverage that is applicable to the maritime islands, digital terrestrial television, and the direct-to-home satellite-based digital television. Mr. Speaker, sir, just to give you a quick update on it, in Tavuni, for example, we have 1,296 digital terrestrial television. And direct-to-home, in other words, satellites, dishes in individual homes or halls, we have 63. Kiowa, 5 DTT. Kandavu, 225 DTT and 186 satellite connections. Rotuma, 57 satellite connections. Ovalau, 1,115 DTT and 295 satellite connections. Koro, 26 DTT, 5 satellite connections. Ngau, 15 DTT, 21 satellite. Motoriki, 2 DTT, 8 satellite. Lakemba, 30 satellite. Onoilau, 10 satellite. Mode, 17 satellite. Kambara, 12 satellite. Vivia, 8 satellite. Nayau, 12 satellite. Totoya, 11 satellite. Matuku, 6 satellite. Namukuilau, 4 satellite. Ono, 5. Moala, 21. Wanumbalavu, 7. In Vatulele, on Vatulele Island, we have 3 DTT and 1 satellite. In Viwa, in Tailevu, 2 DTT. In Nassau Islands, 263 DTT and 7 satellite. Mr. Speaker, as part of government's initiative, Walesi will continue to provide free set-top boxes to every household that has a combined annual income of up to $30,000 in UHF antennas at a subsidized cost. To date, Walesi has distributed 143,401 digital terrestrial television set-top boxes and 3,738 digital satellite receivers. Mr. Speaker, sir, of course, upon proof of that, you'll be able to access these set-top boxes. Mr. Speaker, sir, we're also cognizant that there are limitations in terms of access to grid power and affordability in some communities. Therefore, government has funded the facilitation of a TV set and Walesi equipment in community halls, government centers and schools in 711 communities, which provide 127,980 Fijians with equitable access to information. Mr. Speaker, sir, many countries in America, Europe and parts of Asia have completed the digital television migration progress. A growing concern is that countries that are still on analog technology will eventually find difficulty in buying television receivers as the technology becomes obsolete. Looking ahead, Mr. Speaker, sir, Walesi is now focused on ensuring that all eligible households have the prospect to obtain the Walesi equipment. This is to prepare for the analog to digital television switchover, which will progressively be carried out nationwide beginning from Navua, Korowau, and Lautoka Nandi corridors by 1st of December of this year. The next phases will be the remaining areas across Viti Levu, Vanua Levu, and the Maritime Islands. Mr. Speaker, sir, the analog switchover date means that all broadcasters will cease to transmit on the analog platform. It will regularize current practice and mandate that all television broadcasters, free-to-air and pay-per-view, become tenants of the Walesi platform, and Walesi will offer all tenants through the Walesi platform equitable access and geographical reach. This also means that all the infrastructure costs of the transmission will now be borne by Walesi. In other words, television companies no longer have to invest in expensive infrastructure, upfront infrastructure costs. Walesi will do that because our objective to ensure every Fijian gets connectivity. The staggered approach of the switchover is to also ensure that all broadcasters have sufficient time to transition from the analog to digital television platform, and the administrative measures have also been put in place. Mr. Speaker, sir, we intend to complete the national digital switchover exercise by June 2022. Mr. Speaker, sir, the launch of the Walesi mobile app in 2018 further empowers Fijians to watch live and on-demand television channels, including the dedicated educational content and indeed these parliamentary proceedings right on their fingertips. This service has become tremendously popular amongst viewers in Fiji and abroad. Mr. Speaker, sir, during the recent 2020 Olympic Games that ended on 8 August 2021, we were informed that there was an uptake of 100,000 new subscribers to the Walesi app, making a total of 600,000 individual subscribers to the Walesi app. Mr. Speaker, sir, Walesi is committed to ensuring excellent service delivery and is consistently elevating the Walesi app on both the Play Store and Apple App Store. Walesi had also upgraded their over-the-top, or what we call OTT servers, to cater for increased demand and to improve user experience and resilience. This also pays or provides for pay-per-view live events such as Uprising Sevens, Triple Zone, Super Zone, South Pacific Boxing Promotion, the Maris Sevens, Fair Brother Rugby, Diwali Dhoom Dhanya, and Skipper Cup. Mr. Speaker, sir, talking about upgrades, very soon Walesi app users will also be able to access radio services on the Walesi app, which we expect to complete by November of this year. Mr. Speaker, sir, to date Walesi has 610,083 registered users on its platform. With Sky Pacific coming on board with the Walesi app, Walesi will soon be able to offer users access to more channels. Mr. Speaker, sir, Walesi has established 16 free Wi-Fi hotspots across the country that provides 1 hour free internet access daily. These sites are, as I mentioned, in Suva, Ratu Supuna Park, in Suva, Mai Suva Park, Savu Savu foreshore area and the market area, Singatoga Riverside and the market area, Nandi, Koreivolu Park and the bus stand area, Lautoka, Shirley Park, Lautoka bus stand and market, Bar bus stand and market, Lambasa Civic Center, Market and Bus Stand. Nosori is Syria Park. Navua Bus Stand and Market. Tavua Bus Stand and Market. Rakiraki Bus Stand and Market. In Lami it's Tikaram Park. Valalevu is Rajendra Grounds and Market. And Korovo is the market and the bus stand. Mr. Speaker, sir, this Wi-Fi hotspot initiative is also available to the 26 Fiji National University campuses, which can be utilized by both the students and the teachers. Mr. Speaker, sir, Wailesi has increased accessibility to high-speed internet services to rural and maritime areas through its VSAT satellite program, and areas that are currently covered are Rotuma Government Center in Rotuma, Benga Yanudha Secondary School in Benga, and Noikoro District School in the interior of Nanaga Navosa. More areas are also being identified by Wailesi team in consultations with the various ministries. Mr. Speaker, sir, as we all know, radio is the most readily and easily available form of communications. In fact, radio is the most accessible form of communications during times of disaster and crisis. I'll be just a few minutes, sir. While out at sea or while traveling across islands, most of us are switched on to the radio channels for entertainment and access to critical information. Mr. Speaker, sir, with a budgetary allocation of $4.5 million in the 2021-2022 national budget, Wailesi is well placed for the deployment of FM radio network. The $4.5 million allocation to Wailesi will fund the construction of 4 key transmission sites. The initial 2 sites is Nakumbolevu in Suva, Sambetu in Nandi. They are expected to be commissioned by November of this year. The remaining sites, Koro in Tavua and Delai Koro in Lambasa, are scheduled to be completed by March of next year. The deployment of new FM radio transmission sites will result in much improved and deeper coverage. This is due to the advanced technologies and higher transmission power gear that will be deployed by Wailesi. The brownout or blackout zones that are currently experienced while traveling in areas such as Pacific Harbour and Coral Coast and Vitilevu, or areas like Bua and Savusavu and Vanulevu, will be a thing of the past. Mr. Speaker, sir, the new FM network will also use what we call Single Frequency Network, or SFN. This is also being used for the Wailesi digital television platform. What SFN means, Mr. Speaker, sir, for the FM network is that you will be able to listen to your favorite radio station in the same frequency anywhere in Fiji. There's no need to change stations while traveling across the islands, and listeners will continue to receive the same quality signal for the whole journey. Last but not least, Mr. Speaker, sir, the SFN technology will also free up the much needed radio frequencies, which is what I called the other day limited real estate, for other purposes such as telecommunication networks. Mr. Speaker, sir, this is more efficient use of technology and resources. By building a common shared network, we'll give other smaller broadcasters, such as community and faith-based radio stations, the same competitive advantage as other commercial radio stations. As we've seen, for example, some of the faith-based organizations that are currently in Wailesi, we could allow more of them to come in through this platform. Therefore, the intention is for Wailesi services to expand to look after all broadcasting transmission, television and FM services. Another advantage of such a consolidation, Mr. Speaker, sir, will provide economies of scale and ensure all national linking and transmission sites are well serviced by utilities and connectivity. This will also mean that all broadcasters will not only enjoy enhanced reach and better technical support, in other words, getting more exposure to members of the public, but also reduce the high operating costs, especially in terms of maintaining sites that had poor or no utility service and connectivity. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, sir, Wailesi has without a doubt revolutionized television in Fiji, because our citizens are already experiencing the benefits of crystal clear picture quality with more programming options. Our children are already accessing the educational content both on digital television platform and Wailesi app, while in the safety of their homes. With the deployment of initiatives like the FM network and the Wi-Fi hotspots, this will further ensure that investments in Wailesi will provide much better returns to all Fijians, Mr. Speaker, sir. And therefore, it will achieve government's objective that every Fijian, regardless of where they are, who they are, how much they earn, whatever their socioeconomic status is, will have a meaningful access to Wailesi services and information in itself. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
I thank the Honourable.
Naka.
Thank the Honourable Attorney General. And I now give the floor to the designated Speaker of the Leader of the Opposition, the Honourable Atu Filipe Duchoa. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So I rise to respond to the ministerial statement on Wailesi, Fiji Limited. Just to start off, I'd like to emphasize in the ministerial statement, there is absolutely no accountability and transparency in the presentation. We do acknowledge all the developments which have been mentioned, but there's just no accountability and transparency. Because if you look at the budget documents here, the supplementary, for the last, I checked last year, this year, Wallis is not listed there. In the state-owned entities, Table 59, not listed as there's another list title, not listed as public enterprises. So all the 100% owned government entities are listed there. FBC, Fiji Hardwood, and the others partly owned, ATS, Energy, Fiji Limited, etc. So the question is, what kind of company is this? Is it a ghost company or what? Because it is not officially listed in the budget documents. I can't find any listing anywhere. And when you look at the site, Facebook, it says it is a state-owned commercial enterprise, but it is not listed yet, sir. And that is a major concern regarding the operations of Wallis. It states it started in 2017, etc. Key principal Robert Khan. The website, there was a chairman, Sardar Sharma, but all these details has not been presented to Parliament. And
to control.
Again, so with that, if it is listed as a public enterprise, then it must be run under the Public Enterprise Act. And when you look at the Act, Public Enterprise Act of 2019, let me read out some of the requirements. It must have written financial records, correct records, enable financial statements to be prepared. Number one, we have not seen that. Under financial statements, section 57, the board must ensure they is prepared for each financial year financial statements together with all information necessary. 57.1.2, not done. Financial statements must consist of balance sheet, not done. No financial statements according to financial standards. Declaration by directors, we don't even know who the board is. And all these requirements have not been adhered to. Public enterprise, section 58, must prepare and submit an annual report in accordance with the Financial Management Act 2004. That has not been adhered to. And of course, this indicates that there's a breach of the Financial Management Act in terms of the public funding, public funds which is being used. And then nothing has been done. No annual report has come to this house since it was established in 2015. And I go to the minister's oversight. Minister has oversight. That's clear in section 60 of the Public Enterprise Act. And his role as minister, he has failed in ensuring that the reports are provided to this house. And section 62, he should require in writing a direct disclose specified information, etc., etc. And my point is, sir, in all this, the minister has failed to provide that. And in one of my motions, which went to the business committee, I asked for inquiry into FBC and Walesi, because these two receive substantial funds. And Walesi's funding increased from 11.2 million, 10.3 million to 15.5 million in this budget. Yet there's no financial report, no accountability, and we've not seen anything. What is happening to Wallis? That's what I'm trying to get at here, sir. And again, that boils down to the minister. What is he doing about Wallis? He has not chased them to provide reports, etc., etc. And I'm asking the Honorable Prime Minister, what are you doing about your minister, sir, in terms of him providing reports and also accountability to this Parliament, sir? And in terms of that, sir, I ask, how is the performance of the minister measured by the Chief Executive, the Honorable Prime Minister? And this is a clear breach, the operations of Wallis. In one of the media reports a few years back, let me read it out. The audit report states that the project is managed by Ministry of Communication. This is the digital TV project. Through Wallis TV, which also take over all transmission works at all broadcasters, including FBC, for an annual management fee. How much is this? How much from the FBC 11.2 million is paid to WALESI? What is the annual management fee? All this needs to be provided to this House, sir, because these are public funds, and it has increased to 15 million this year. Again, in the audit report, it states all equipment, as mentioned by Honorable Minister of Economy, will be transferred to FBC to WALESI at an agreed price that has been presented to the board of FBC and the project management team head by WALESI Limited. Again, this is not clear. And the project management team head by WALESI Limited, who are these people? How are they selected? How much was paid to them? Again, all these accountability issues, sir, that I would like to raise today, bringing into question the performance of our Minister of Economy in terms of running of our public enterprises and the breach of the Public Enterprise Act and the Financial Management Act, and that needs to be taken into account by the Honorable Prime Minister. And to end, Honorable Mercy Nibunyuanga was taken into account for not adhering to a directive to support the Bill 17. What about this situation?
Jesus.
Please take into account the performance of your team. Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Order. I thank the Honourable Member for his statement. I now give the floor to, where is he? The designate of the National Federation Party leader, the Honourable Pio Tikondondua.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker.
There he is. You have the floor.
Mr. Speaker, thank you, sir. Mr. Speaker, I rise to respond to the ministerial statement on WALESI. And may I, through you, Mr. Speaker, just say that there is no minister so invested in promoting WALESI like this minister. Now, he is the only minister that gets overexcited about the numbers of people using WALESI and the number of people who have downloaded the WALESI app. And he clears his schedule to even open customer care offices for WALESI. But let's look at another angle that the minister should also be excited about, where WALESI is concerned. From its formation, Mr. Speaker, this entity has continued to get and enjoy lavish injections of public funds towards its activities. In the budget that the government side passed just weeks ago, WALESI is being given $15.5 million under Head 16. To draw on similar comments made by my esteemed colleague, Honorable Lenore Ngarengere yesterday, in relation to monopolizing mobile telephone services by Vodafone, the exact patterns can be identified here with WALESI. And we know why. We all remember how WALESI distributed free decoders prior to the elections. We all remember how the government, during its freebie blitz prior to the 2018 elections, gave out free TVs for village halls, already set up to receive WALESI signals. We know that the government wants to manipulate a captive audience that takes their personal data and only receives their point of view using the digital Fiji infrastructure, which includes digital television, apps, free wireless internet hotspots, access across 16 public areas throughout all towns and cities, as well as 26 sites on all Fiji National University campuses. Now, WALESI is involved with free-to-air education, yet we have not heard a single recent whisper from the Minister for Education on how this is going during the second wave of COVID-19. We have not heard a single word about the 16 telecenters or telehealth centers that they launched with much fanfare. Is it because the mechanics are too difficult, causing schools and health units to do their own thing, such as interactive online learning that even includes Zoom? Unfortunately for the government, all this effort prior to the 2018 elections only offered them a 0.02% lead in the polls. All the taxpayer money being funneled towards ensuring people only listen to the government would be far better used in actual poverty reduction and redeployment of our skilled workforce towards income generation under this current COVID-19 crisis. What should concern the minister, Mr. Speaker, most of all, is that while he is sitting under the umbrella of his pet project of the Digital Government Transformation Program, all under Head 16, the Auditor General's report for 2019 highlights very worrying issues, such as the ministry budgeting for the consultants to develop the Computer Emergency Response Team for Fiji, where negotiations were delayed. What happened? Early this year, the government had a whole of government cyber attack that affected online government services, and nothing was ever heard about that incident ever again. Another finding in the Auditor General's 2019 report was that there were savings because the satellite-based concept of school internet connectivity did not happen because there was insufficient staff in the department. More savings occurred because the commercial agreements between the satellite providers and local service providers could not be finalized.
Listen.
The project was supposed to then commence in 2020. Worse still, Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Communication did not receive any subsidy request from the public, and therefore no payment was made for the subsidies for local movies and literacy productions. That year, 2019, the Auditor General's report states that the department was allocated a budget of $14.6 million, but it only used $8.5 million during that year. That year, 2019, the Digital Government Transformation Program did not use money due to all manners of delays for implementation. All this, Mr. Speaker, is what the minister should be detailing, not just the bells and whistles that have so much money allocated, but with so little output, bringing meaningful change to our people. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I thank the Honourable Chikandondo for his contribution to the debate. Honourable members, we move on. Secretary General.